Hello world and welcome back to Money Makes Games. Today we're going to finish up our little Pong game by adding some sounds, and then in the future I plan to make a bonus episode where we do some tuning and adding some features, doing a little camera shake maybe, just adding some juice to the game. If you're ready to go, then follow me. My name is Money and I make games. I want to start off by saying that if you think I deserve it, and if you liked what I've done so far, then go ahead and it would be highly appreciated. So let's start talking about audio today. First thing we need to know is that we need two things in a scene to get audio or to get sound. First thing you'll need is you'll need a camera. Well, actually, on the camera, you'll need an audio listener. Now, you can only have one audio listener in a screen, and usually when you create a scene, Unity adds an audio listener to the camera. Then the second thing you'll need is an audio source, or more than one audio source, as you'll see. Now, if we look at the audio source component, I'll link the documentation for it in the description. Looking at it, you'll see that it takes in an audio clip. I've already chosen my audio clips here. Let me show you. I've got a little audio clip for game start, for when we hit the player, and for points scored. We've also got music over there. Okay, and all these came from a place called Open Game Art. Now there's a lot of free resources for game art, for audio, for 3D assets, 2D assets, and even some game templates that you can look at. There's kenny.nl, there's the Unity Asset Store, there's Open Game Art, and well, I might have to make a video about just that, because there's quite a few places you can look. Now, I'll paste a link to Open Game Art here. Please do support them, and if you use Open Game Art or any free assets, it's always nice to give a shout out. Not everybody requires it, but these people do it for free, and I think that they deserve some credit for it. Okay, now here you can see is where I found my sound effects. You can also find some graphics for Pong. And this looks like it belongs in a brick game actually. But yeah, back to the audio. So, on my audio source component, I've got the audio clip and I've got here the output where it goes. Now, if you don't specify an output, it's just going to output directly to your audio output for your game. So in other words, your speakers or your headphones or whatever. And the volume won't be controlled by anything other than the volume you set here. We'll do this a little differently and I'll explain in a minute. Then we'll look at, we've got mute here. We can bypass the effects, which is here. And we can play on awake. Now for the music, that's something we want. So in other words, as soon as the scene loads, it's going to start playing the audio clip and we want it to loop. So I've set that to true as well. Now over here, you've got your priority. This just means that if there's a lot of sound playing and your system can't keep up, then the higher the priority, the better chance is that this specific sound will be played. or this audio source actually. Then we've got the volume, which you can set for your audio source, and we've got the pitch. Now, this is called a mixer group. What you would do is you would go Window, and you go Audio, and you go Audio Mixer. And it shows up this little window here. Now, I've already set this up, but I'll just show you the basics of doing it. So if you've got a blank screen here, you can go Mixers, and you add a new mixer. Then when you click on this mixer, it will show you snapshots, groups, and views. Now, if we go to groups, these are mixer groups. And I can add sub-mixers to those. Whoops. Not quite that way. We want another one under there. So what happens is, this controls the specific volume that goes to this group. And this one controls the volume that's assigned to this group. But this master mixer controls the overall volume. So if I play this at half volume, this one will play at half the full output volume, and this one will play at a quarter because this one is half of this. If I set them like this, they will be both equally loud, but still limited by this one over here. It's like the master volume on a mixer board. So if you've ever touched one of those, this should be pretty easy for you. Okay, let's remove this whole audio mixer, which we don't need. And we'll delete it. Now let's click on the one I've set up here. You'll notice that we've got the I've got something picking up sound here. Anyway, we've got our main mixer, and then under the groups we have SFX, which is for our sound effects, and music. Now I want my sound effects to be a little louder than my music because I want the music to be a background thing. Now if I go here, let's say I had two music sources and I wanted to layer them over each other, but I wanted one to be softer than the other one. I would send them both to this output, the music group, but on one of them I would bring the volume down, which further distinguishes the two from each other while still being controlled by this group. Right, that's just a little something extra there. So how did we make the sound in this work? Well, I think the music's pretty clear. Play on awake, assign the music, and you're good to go. What about the player? Well, let's do a little demo of what the sound is like first. So you can see when the sound is happening, and then we'll go from there. Okay, as you can see here, let's just turn on our volume. There's nothing on the main menu. Yeah, we could add a music source like we did on the player screen. Let's go to our single player. And my audio is very, very low. Now, if you look at the audio mixer here, you can actually... There we go. You can actually set it over there. If you want to change it in play mode, you click on Edit in Play Mode. Now, with that down so you can hear me, let's do a little gameplay. Now listen carefully to when the sounds trigger. And there we go. Now I also want you to just pay attention to the difference when I change these settings over here. I think that demonstration should make it pretty clear. Now, where did we have sound? One you might have missed is where the game actually starts. It does a little start game sound. We also have a game when the ball hits either pedal, and we have a sound when one of the players scores or the other player misses, depending on how you look at it. So how did we do this? Well, let's start with the sound where the paddle hits the ball, because that's pretty easy. In our player script, we're looking for an event that happens when the ball hits the pedal. Now in this case, that would be on collision enter 2D. And because I've set up the game in such a way that the ball can only hit the pedal, or the pedal can only be hit by the ball can actually hit the sides as well, we can listen, and when something hits the player, we can just grab our audio source and say play. Now where did we grab our audio source? Up here. I declared it here, and then I just said get component audio source, because as you'll see on my player prefab over here, I actually attached an audio source right to it, and I already gave it an audio clip called hit. Now let's go back out, and we need to do the same thing for our AI player. So on the AI player, which is actually in the game scene, you would also just go audio source, declare it up here, grab it there, and play it. That's pretty easy, right? But what if we had other stuff that could hit the player? Let's say we had bullets and stuff and we didn't want a sound for that. Well, there's one thing we can do. We can go to our main scene. Let's just do that quickly. Our game scene. And grab our ball. Now let's give it a little tag. Add tag. If I haven't done this before, let's just make sure. Okay, add tag, and we'll say ball. Make sure you get that as accurately as possible, because you want, or let's just say you want to standardize the way you spell this. So I will start my tags with a capital, because it makes it easy to remember when I get to this stage. Here we can go if collision, because when you get this collision 2D, it will pass you the game object on that collision, and you can say compare tag, and we compare that to the tag we just set up. Whoops, which is ball. If you spelled it incorrectly, this will give you a false and nothing will happen. So be sure to check your spelling there. If you look at this, just hover over there, you'll see the return type is a Boolean. So if this is true, then we play it. If something else hit the player, we would just ignore that and not play that sound. Or maybe we would have wanted code for a damage sound or anything like that. It all depends on what you're doing with your game. And then the same would hold true for our AI player. So you can go ahead, copy that, and just add that to the AI player as well. And that's it. As I've said, doing the player part's very, very easy. And this now means that each time the ball runs into a pedal, whether it's a player or an AI player, you'll just get that little popping sound. Okay, now we want to have something that plays when the game starts and when a point is scored. Now, where would we do that? Our game manager actually runs that for us. So we need to do a little something different here because we've got two sounds we want to play. In Game Manager, again, I've declared my audio source, and in Start, I just go and I grab my audio source there, like this. And then I've got a serialized field, two actually, for the start game clip and the point scored clip. Now all we need to do is go to a place where these things happen and assign the clip to the audio source and play it. So firstly, when is the start game clip going to play? Well, if you remember correctly, we are waiting for all the players to join before the game starts. So that would be something that happens when the on all players joined is called. Or at least on all players joined callback is executed. So we've got player join detector, on all players joined .add listener, play start sound. And if you look at that, we go players join detector on all players joined, remove listener, play start sound. So we clean up that callback after we've used it. And then we go audio source .clip and we assign the point scored clip to it. And then we just play it. That's keeping it simple. Above that, I've got a play score sound function. And that basically does the same thing. It's got a listener here, which I don't actually need. Let's take that out. That's what happens when you copy and paste code sometimes, because I wrote this function first. So we've got the start game clip, which we've assigned to our audio source, and we play it. But where do we call this from? Well, if you go up there in your game manager, come on, there we go. Of course, we'll call it each time we score. Why? Because, well, yeah, that's exactly when we need to play the player has scored sound. And that's about it. That's how simple the music setup and the sound setup for this is. Now, this shouldn't be where it ends. You should now go ahead and find places where you can add some character and some atmosphere to your game. Again, as I've said before, anytime when you're doing this, feel free to wander off and do extra things, play with it, make the players faster, make the game faster, make the ball crazy, do what you want. The thing you want to do is find the fun in your game. And with that in mind, the next time you see me, I'll be making a video about just doing stuff to make your game juicy. So, until we see each other again, my name is Moni, and I make games.